Spaceballs. Released in 1987, directed by Mel Brooks, starring Mel Brooks, John Candy, Rick Moranis, Joan Rivers, Bill Pullman, and Daphne Zuniga. I picked up the 28th anniversary edition of Spaceballs on Blu-ray for $7.50. It came with bumper stickers and photo cards. The purchase seemed like a no-brainer, especially when I realized that the very idea of a 28th anniversary edition with neat little doodads goes right in line with the merchandising jokes that run throughout the movie. A 28th anniversary edition? Who needs it? They got me. The last time I saw Spaceballs was well over 10 years ago. I remember watching it at my buddy's apartment in college. I remember all of us laughing and really enjoying it. The last time I watched it before that viewing was probably another 10 years. I was probably like 8 years old or so. I mean, I've always known the jokes. I've seen bits and pieces numerous times over the years, but to sit down and watch it end to end, it's been a while. A long while. So this will be my honest, modern review. Spaceballs. It's funny, and if I'm being honest, not as funny as I remember, but funny. Rick Moranis as Dark Helmet steals the show in my opinion. The best parts of the movie are when he's on screen. He's a fantastic comedic actor. Goofy, animated, quick. Rick Moranis is a huge part of my generation's line of comedic actors. So to see him on the screen again, it was great. Yes, Dark Helmet plays a big role in the movie, but whenever the story diverted from him, I honestly sat there waiting for the movie to get back to him. The movie is 96 minutes long, and honestly it felt longer. There's a lot of lull points. And hey, maybe that's just because the humor has aged a bit. It has. My 21st century attention deficit brain needs to constantly be pumped with chuckles, or I start to fidget in my seat. It's a Mel Brooks film first. And if you know Mel Brooks movies, they're all goofy as hell. And Spaceballs is super goofy. The first Mel Brooks movie I ever saw was Young Frankenstein. Great movie. Anyway, Spaceballs parodies the overall story of Star Wars and the exterior merchandising and sensation of Star Wars, which for me is the movie's strongest running joke. Spaceballs the sheet, Spaceballs the shaving cream, Spaceballs the cereal, Spaceballs the flamethrower, Spaceballs the movie on VHS that comes out before the movie comes out in theaters. There are a lot of awesome gags about the overall merchandising of Star Wars. Spaceballs 2, the search for more money. There's a reason these merchandising jokes are what people remember from the movie, because it was true back then, and it is still true more so than ever today. It's still funny, still relevant. The most enjoyable relationship to watch is between Dark Helmet and Colonel Sanders. It's the type of ridiculous nonsense you're expecting, and I love it. Like I said earlier, there are a lot of lull points, mainly when they get to the desert planet. The humor kind of dies down to a low rumble as the overall pacing slows. There's a lot of literal gags, jamming the radar, combing the desert. These jokes are good and goofy, especially if you're seeing the movie for the first time. On this viewing, I knew what to expect, and maybe that's where Spaceballs' strength lies, in the first-time viewer. Someone who hasn't heard the jokes or seen the gags. That could certainly be true about all comedies, right? The first time a joke hits you, you laugh, and every time after that, maybe a sensible chuckle, a slight smirk, or maybe no reaction at all. So it's hard to talk about this movie as if I've never seen it or don't know the gags. It's hard for me to put myself in the mindset of the first-time viewer, because it's always been there. It's been there as long as Star Wars has for me. Spaceballs is a solid parody. Is it dated? Yeah. Does the humor still connect? I don't know. It really depends on each individual viewer. Is it worth a watch if you've never seen it before? Yes, absolutely. Mel Brooks is like the Judd Apatow of an earlier generation. Comedy is tough to judge looking back. You would think that funny is funny, right? Humor is timeless, right? Well, humor evolves, takes new shapes, just like society. Some things stick, some things fade. If you're a Star Wars fan and you've never seen Spaceballs, yeah, definitely. I definitely think you should pick it up. Like I said earlier, I got it on Blu-ray for $7.50. I'm sure you could find it even cheaper, and it's well worth it. So, have you seen Spaceballs? How long has it been since you've seen it? Let me know in the comment section below. If you haven't seen it in a long time, I think you should give it another watch and post your thoughts. It is absolutely a classic. It spoofed a classic and inspired spoofs that will come classics of spoofs. So yeah, Spaceballs is fun. It's a goofy ass movie. with some obvious gags, some hilarious one-liners, and over-the-top, ridiculous performances. If you haven't seen it, give it a watch. If you haven't seen it in a long time, give it another modern watch and let me know what you think. May the Schwartz be with you. HelloGreedo, out.
Always with you, it cannot be done.